Okay, buddy, bring it. I'm ready. I have my vision.
All right. So, did you listen to?
I've listened to parts of it, not all of it.
Okay, that's fine. So we will. I think it'll be fun to start you after.
Yeah, this idea that I'm coming in.
Yeah. So your character is like new to town.
Yeah.
And we will probably start the next session like a week or two after session 1 takes place.
So after we cut last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I also don't want people trying to figure out why some weird thing happened, and then we just spend like 4 hours talking about this weird thing.
Yeah, that's fair. From a story perspective, that's what they would do on a TV show.
Because also, I don't necessarily know why that happened.
Spoilers.
Not to provide some like context for the metagame here, but
oh man, I've seen Behind the Veil. I know. No, you don't. Never. The dungeon masters never know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been GMs. So
I plan everything out perfectly, and it all goes according to plan. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
No one ever.
You
no one ever
sir,
notices
do the work. Do the work, guys. Okay.
that is called an on-rails shooter, and that's
I run nothing but sandbox games, and they run perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because, when we left, Liam was like, when we were in the halls, just going on about what happened. Why did it's like, can't tell you. Because I made it up on the fly.
Tune in next time.
The answer I like is, you gotta play to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Myself included.
That's why I really like narrative based, like heavy narrative based RPGs, because it's like the GM is also just writing the story. He's just writing all the other parts.
Yeah.
We're all figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and I mean, like, based on all the original questionnaires, there are large plot things that we can build towards. But, and I figure, like, season 1 will solve one of those things, and then we can go about playing, like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever other, or, like, take just a break. But yeah, we will start session 2 with like your first day at
showing up
in town.
The moving vans coming in.
So like we said, it's end of summer 1984. And the only thing that has really happened was Keith's character's Zeke.
I'm Zach.
Zeke allegedly went missing at night market, and turned up again. He was supposed to go get his crossbow or his hunting bow for Millie, and disappeared. They all went to look for him. They couldn't find him at his house, and they went back to the night market to tell Zeke's parents. He was just standing in the center of the market square, or what is it? In the
square, which is shaped like a circle.
Oh yeah. It's in the market takes place in the town square. Town square is shaped like a circle. Yeah, and he was just standing there.
Wasn't he like soaking wet?
He was soaking wet and
or something like
and
that.
did not know what happened.
Cool.
So that's sort of like.
Did you prompt Keith with anything ahead of time?
No,
because it really sounded like he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the part where I."
Spoilers.
Where I do that thing that Derek told me to do, but like he just went with it, and that was great.
Yeah, he's very good
He is.
at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that he's like quick enough to jump in as the NPC.
Yes.
So he's gonna be the NPC. Well,
Zeke's parents.
and it was funny too, because like I didn't want him to be gone for that period of time, but the rest of the group were like bickering about things to do, which was amusing in and of itself. But it's like Keith is sitting here like not playing the game. And so he jumped in as a random NPC, really like, and was really good at it. So the entire time we were playing, it's like, oh, okay, Zeke is now dead, and Keith is just the NPCs. And I was like, you're not dead. I did not just kill you. It like an hour into session 1.
Yeah.
After we spent like
Shit, man.
Super lethal campaign. More lethal.
We
than
need a little
this.
soundboard. You could have started playing the Game of Thrones music right after. Like, oh, prepare yourself.
You're the moral center. You're Ned Stark, and now it's all going to hell.
Cool. So that's sort of like, I guess, just maybe some context for your rumors that your character has maybe heard all the way from wherever they've moved in from. Maybe your character's got like some sweet access to a BBS.
Yeah, what are you thinking for your character?
But so now we can just create your character.
Yeah, man. Okay. I'm
I don't. Let me quickly pull up what all the other people are.
yeah. So my understanding was that someone being a little more brawny would be nice.
That's the only.
So I'm
story we
Lucas Williams. What age distribution are we?
don't- 2 teens, 3 children.
Yeah, Zach is... So Daryl's character is 11. Jen's character, Millie, is 14. Keith's character
13.
is 159 months.
Idiot.
Did you?
No, he did that.
Okay. Yeah, he was 13. Liam's character, David, is 8. And then Richard's character, James, is 14.
So James and Millie are like in the same grade. Guess just starting high school or done 1 year of high school?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
I don't know how old you are when you go into grade 9.
You're around 14.
Yeah. The school in Owl Station is a K-12, full K-12.
Okay.
Although some of the...
But wouldn't from where we are, I feel like junior high should be 7 to 9. If as an Albertan, unlike you weirdos out here.
I lived in an area where we did not have enough kids to necessitate
Divisions.
a junior high school.
Yeah.
Like
We had elementary and then secondary.
you could. I mean, some of the kids are going to be going off to Yellowknife for school.
Yeah.
Just because of it, like maybe there's more programs or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, we might even have a situation where someone of whatever age could just start doing high school credits because all the teachers know each other and they're probably ready.
Yeah, so some students, high school students, or students of high school age, do go to Yellowknife for school, but the portables,
The knife is
the
Lucas like to call
portables
it.
in Owl Station,
Oh, the portable.
Yeah. That's where I went to elementary.
offers kindergarten up through grade 12.
So Lucas Williams would be about 15 years old.
Okay.
I'm kind of building mine on the brutish jock archetype tropes.
Sure.
I'm gonna be like a young starting out bodybuilding. I'm obsessed, so I was kind of into comics. You know when you read those old and you see like the Charles Atlas at the back of any comics, like
Yeah.
I saw that, got super into it, and then started hearing about this new Austrian that's just been crushing all of the bodybuilding and starting to move into Hollywood. I know he was in a movie called Conan the Barbarian, but I can't get it. My parents won't let me see it either, but I'm obsessed. It's the holy grail as far as I'm concerned of like trying to somehow get access to this, get stills, anything. Just I love talking to people who come in. I'm always asking, like, have you seen Conan the Barbarian? Like, this guy, like, he's just superhuman, and so on and so forth. So I'm obsessed with bodybuilding.
Get along with absolutely everyone. Millie's gonna lose her crush on Richard. She's gonna fall for Lucas.
Zach is gonna show you Galaxy Defender Man.
Zeke is gonna show you Galaxy Defender Man.
Galaxy Defender Man books. Conan the Destroyer might have come out as well.
Yeah, Conan the Destroyer is probably like 81, 82.
No, Conan the Barbarian was 82.
Okay.
Conan the Destroyer
right.
was 84.
Yeah. So again, it's like at this period, because, it's all hearsay at this point. I have insane visions of what these movies are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So I have like...
Conan the Destroyer has been in theaters for maybe a month.
Yeah.
Since our campaign started.
But I'm not really seeing that these movies are going to be coming to...
When was the release date?
June 29th, 1984. But that was the sequel. That was not the original.
No, I know, but...
Arnie Conan. So you're like...
I'm trying to think, too, when his book came out. I want to know if I have his bodybuilding book.
Oh, on Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding book. Let me do the...
I must have, because it was like the 60s to the 80s.
Yeah, Daryl can do the Googling of the things.
Yeah.
If it's accessible, then like I got it like special ordered, and it's just cherished. The binding's all ripped apart, and that's all I do. I work out totally alone. I'm like a weird, obsessive about it, and I'm just trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
77, 77, 79, 81.
Yeah. So I got the 77 version. I found it at...
So there's Arnold developing a Mr. Universe physique.
No.
There's Arnold, the education of a bodybuilder.
No.
And there's Arnold's bodybuilding for men.
That's the one.
81. There's also Arnold's bodybuilding for women, which was 79. He wrote that one 2 years before he wrote bodybuilding for men.
Yeah. No.
Probably because he is he used to be a creepy kind of sexual pervert kind of man.
Used to be.
He is perfect in every way.
Hey, listen. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Okay.
So far that's kind of my thing. So yeah, moving into town. My parents moved here. My dad has some kind of... What are the industries again? He's got like some kind of just standard blue collar job.
Maybe would he have joined up for like the military?
So originally,
this is a military station.
It was a military station in
like the 50s, 40s,
okay.
30s.
It started in the 30s. So the actual...
And we have these radio towers and stuff. So maybe he was like a radio operator for the military, and that's what he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. So just to remind you on what the background of this town was.
Yeah.
In actual real life,
mm-hmm.
So like outside of our game universe, starting in just after World War II, once the sort of Cold War crisis started happening,
mm-hmm.
The U.S. and Canada, which I think the alliance was like the North American joint military something or other, but it excluded like Mexico and all the other North American countries. It was just countries. It was like two of the 20 countries in North America.
Yeah.
They started installing early warning long range missile or long range radar stations to detect like ballistics from Russia. And they built one along the 50th parallel. So like the border between flyover Canada and flyover America. And then that went from like BC all the way to Newfoundland. That wasn't early warning enough, so they installed another one further north, and that would have gone through. It was more north than where we are, and that one was called the dew line, which is distant early warning.
69th parallel.
Yeah, which was up at the 69th parallel.
Super high.
And it was the exact same thing. So,
cool.
And that technically started, I think it was like late 40s when they started like actually building some of those facilities.
50,
Or like early 50s maybe.
52?
So we are saying, I think what I could find was that they started like building the test sites or like test architecture of these radar systems at the end of World War II.
There was a detailed study made by a group of the nation's foremost scientists in 1952, which eventually led to the dew line.
Right.
So it could have been part of that.
Yeah. So my dad's been involved in this. We originally were sort of in like Alaska, northern BC was where he was stationed doing some kind of work.
Sure.
And we got moved here. I don't really care much about my dad's work or any of this kind of stuff. I see him as kind of a nerd.
Okay.
Which, I'm increasingly like drifting away from. Like,
Right.
I'm reacting to. I definitely came from that grown, but now I'm like, I'm seeing myself increasingly as like a jock and these kinds of things. So I'm in this pushing away.
And so in our universe, we are saying that the R&D of these radar systems happened significantly earlier.
Yeah, of course.
So that we can, because otherwise our town would be like 25 years old kind of thing. So we're saying that happened, even as early as somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah.
Or, maybe the military facility was installed for other purposes in the 20s and was repurposed as a radar facility.
Perfect, that makes sense. So he's just
in the 40s.
He's kind of some kind of like middle management-y kind of like radio engineer, and the whispers I'm getting is that it's not clear that this isn't some kind of like lateral move, like that he might have gotten in some kind of fight with some of the people where he was, and somehow he's been moved out of here, and it's not clear that he's super happy about it necessarily, but I largely don't care. I'm super kind of pissed off about it. So I'm trying to think of why would I know a lot of stuff about people here.
It would maybe just the part of the character creation is to sort of ask questions.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Or answer questions about people you know and don't know.
Yeah. We'll keep.
And maybe what we will do is use these questions. Most of them will be from the don't know list.
Yeah.
But maybe like two of, or you are aware of two of the characters. And we will use the those like characters as sort of like rumor generators.
Yep.
To flesh out, other characters. So the one big thing is that what came out of the first character creation, like our session 0, is that Liam and Richard's family were like Richard's, or their like probably great grandfather would have been like the highest member of like whatever lieutenant general or something that was stationed originally at Owl Station, and so the town just is like, and also with a last name like Prescott, and
Yeah. No.
suddenly
Probably-
where you've got like your children are like
Yeah,
numbered after you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're quite pretentious, so that lieutenant general was probably like, "Oh yeah, I'm the founder of this town."
Yeah, I imagine even if like there was a general, the general had kids, and the kids aren't necessarily going to go into the military, but they're certainly going to go into like lucrative careers doing something.
Yeah.
So they were like, not prospectors, but they were like judges, lawyers, whatever they could get away with in and around. Maybe
Yeah,
Yellowknife
they were the
Drive.
well-to-do people in
Yeah,
town because
so the city
because of
just
that.
got named after them in time, because like, oh, the son, they named the school after him because he, was a really amazing man and donated lots of money to the school, and then the hospital wing was the kid below him or something. It's like they just basically bought the town.
Yeah.
Cool.
In a very real way.
Yeah. The gym for the school is named after them. It's the Jebediah Prescott Gymnasium,
Yeah. So where
I
I'm
think.
gonna crush it out.
Obadiah.
Obadiah Prescott Gymnasium.
Soon, my second home.
And it's probably a very standard.
AKA the Iron Church.
They probably don't have much in way of like weight training.
Oh,
maybe they
totally.
do.
I mean, I've been like lifting. I'm pretty young, right? I've been lifting like my Jane Fonda sets. Anything I can find.
Yeah,
like,
below like I mean, it was the '80s, so people weren't super strict about enforcing these. But below the age of 15, you're not really supposed to be using external weights at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you kids out there, not till you're 15.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the random questions are on the Brutish Jock one that you're supposed to
Ready?
answer.
It's ready for you, buddy.
Okay, so yeah, and you're doing the Brutish Jock, right?
Yeah.
And then so you do get 2 of the strengths
Yeah.
and 2 weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then whatever the free one is
He's
for a team.
so rebellious, I think it is.
Okay.
Which
Yeah, I'll look up all the details of that when I have my thing again. But
sure.
Oh, and you get a +1 to, let's say, strength and fight. Or no,
brawn and fight.
brawn and fight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is it brawn?
Better be. I'm so fucking brawny.
I think brawn is actually for
So teams automatically receive rebellious
Grit and
strength.
fight.
Teams add +1 to their fight and brawn checks,
What is brawn? Okay.
as they are pugnacious and in their prime.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I did not pronounce that word correctly.
Pugnacious?
Pugnacious? Crushed it,
Close
buddy.
enough.
Okay, cool.
Wasn't that was Wednesday's brother, right? Pugnacious Adams?
Yeah, and then you get 2 of the flaws.
Mm-hmm.
The flaws don't do any.
No, they're gonna do things to Lucas. Lucas plays to his flaws.
Then we all.
Sure, but they don't like actively
Yeah.
have stats for them. It's more like a narrative thing. So if you're, hot-tempered, then.
That is why you fail.
So question 1 is, why do you get satisfaction from being good at sports? Which in this case, sports
Bodybuilding.
is bodybuilding.
There's only one sport.
Why you get satisfaction from that?
I just think it makes me feel strong. It gives me a beautiful body, so I really stand out, and I just want to be huge and intimidating, like the all glorious Arnold.
It's literally hero worship at this point.
I mean that's pretty typical for
Teens.
a young teen
Yep.
or late child is
Oh yeah,
Agreed.
hero worship.
yeah. Lots of posters. You know, I won't watch the Hulk, the TV show that's been out for a while, because I think Lou Ferrigno's a total faker, and, you know, shouldn't have tried to step up against the greatness of Arnie.
What about other people with... Is your character just obsessed with, like, Arnold? Or is there other... Like, how does your character feel about... how does Lucas feel about, like Bruce Lee? Or Chuck Norris? Or any of the other...
Yes, yeah, the other big stars.
Because they're not bodybuilders, but they were, like...
Yeah, no, they're huge. I totally know them. So I'm like totally against it. I see like not against it, but like I see Bruce Lee is just he has no mass, and so I think it's all fake Hollywood stuff that he'd be any good in a fight. You know, it's like because if you're not huge, like how can you even fight, right? So yeah, he's all cut up and whatever, but he's a little wimpy nothing.
The martial arts are terrible in fights. But
Yeah.
the bodybuilders, the guys who can't move their heads and arms, they're great.
I mean, he doesn't even know what he's talking about because, like, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I know that in Conan the Barbarian, like, Arnie can just take on anything. He can take on, like, mythical creatures. He's just so strong. And then similarly, like, Chuck Norris, you know, he's so hairy that I understand why someone like that wouldn't, you know, treat his body like a temple and shave and oil and just, you know, make sure that he looks like a Greek statue the way, you know, great bodybuilders do.
All right. I can get into that.
So I'm aware of these other things, but it is very singular in my focus. Of,
Sure.
You know, there is an ideal, and it is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I like how your characters are always very single-minded.
I mean, that's... I probably would do the same, because I feel like that's an easy way to, like, start getting inside the character.
Yep.
Cool. And then, so, what does your involvement with bodybuilding keep you from doing that you wish you could do?
Yeah.
Further bodybuilding.
What would my wishes be? Hold on, give me a sec. What other interests do I have?
We started as sort of a comic loving dweeb.
Well, but yeah, I was thinking like of reading or something, but I'm trying to think under the current, you know, the I guess that would be the thing. Like, there's this secret urge of like wanting to keep up. I used to have just a real exhaustive knowledge of comics and all of these things, and as much as my outward persona, I won't admit to it directly, because I now spend so much time kind of reading about bodybuilding that I now increasingly don't know immediately some of the comics that are being talked about or the storylines, and it personally makes me sad, even though again I think that I would outwardly say that comics are for dweebs. Right. I do personally really care about them, and I'm sad that I'm kind of losing track of some of these stories, and that I'm not an authority I used to be, which was part of my identity.
Sure. So, like, the bodybuilding sport side, and the nerdy nerds, those are, like, those are opposing cultural groups that...
Exactly, and I'm struggling through that, but yet, you know, I'm obsessed with, like,
Conan
the Barbarian.
Yet.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm seeing myself as that character's flaw is that the things I'm drawn to are these, like, fantasy tropes about bodybuilding being superhuman, and yet I'm totally against nerd culture now in this, like, reactionary way, even though, you know, it's a fantasy world that I'm sort of partially interested in. And so that's the tension I feel. But I would say a lot of it is that any of my nerd cred, like the way I used to have this strong identity was that, like, I could name any issue and all the backstory characters and just feel like that anyone else was kind of didn't know as much as I did, whereas that's just not as true anymore. Like, I increasingly notice I don't know what people are talking about, and because there's no time for anything but pumping iron. And again, Imagine like Jane Fonda, like like leg weights and stuff. Because what I have access to is pretty limited.
Right. But yeah, it's probably whatever is either available at the library or...
Yeah, like my mom got it for, like, it's in the basement somewhere because she, decided at one point she wanted to do this.
And potentially you're okay with the Jane Fonda workout videos because on, like, a Saturday night you stayed up after your parents went to bed to watch Barbarella.
Yeah, I mean...
When you were still a dweeb.
Yeah, I'm not an animal. Arnie's told me that babes are totally okay, so I get that,
Okay. That's some good character background. I'll give you half a second to jot some of that stuff down. Mm-hmm. So you would be a year ahead of Richard and Jen.
Although, he might not. If he's a little...
Yeah. I just wanted to make my character
Right.
old enough that lifting weights made sense. Otherwise,
Finally...
I was sensitive to the fact that
like, it's all supposed to be like... I don't know what the term is, but it's like using your own body's resistance or weight to do your weight training when you're that young. But like he's at the point where he could do like one-handed upside down push-ups or something.
But I'm worried that it's going to make me look like Bruce Lee and not like Arnie because I need mass, right? And I know,
Right.
And I've read. I one thing I do know a lot about. I don't know a lot about anything anymore. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger's book through and through, so I understand the importance of mass and steroids.
So
that whole section on steroids in the original one, I know it. I
now
get
you're
it.
at the age where you actually can like bulk up legitimately.
Exactly,
So
and
I can use exterior weights. I can probably start taking supplements. I can visit Mr. Keith, the gym teacher.
Yeah. And I'm starting to see myself as like that. I'm just starting to bulk up, right? Because I'm clearly super young and like so I'm still pretty. And I started out pretty skinny. That's how I'm seeing it because I was kind of a nerdy, skinnier type, like athletic, but.
Sure.
But now I'm just starting to get mass, so I have that like very early kind of.
Are your parents or parent?
Yeah.
Could be a single parent household.
Yeah. I'll have both. Because I got to have my Jane Fonda gear from someone.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be your mom would have the.
So my dad I see as like kind of the dorky character, and my mom I see as being like she's very into health and she's very into food.
Oh right, and your dad's like a radio operator or something.
And I see it as a very like loving relationship they have, but like she is very much, and so she's where I'm getting a lot of my nutritional kind of
if
in the
they
background.
existed back then, your dad would have a podcast.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's a ham radio operator. Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to Radio Free. Way the hell up north.
Yeah.
Are your parents supportive of the bodybuilding? Because obviously you wouldn't be taking supplements.
Yeah.
And I have not, unless you've made a connection with Mr. Keith.
No,
Not to be
I'm
confused.
going to say there's no
with
steroids in my life. I'm just aware that they're like super important, but I don't actually really understand what they are. Even
Right.
I would say it like they're this mystical thing that because Arnie's always telling me I don't need it yet. I need my raw mass first, but that's it's just going to help me really tweak my physique for when I become Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Sure.
As
You're
you get
going to have
older-
to go over to the Guelph Public Library. That's Guelph Public Library if we're looking for sponsors.
Yeah, they do sponsors.
You're going to have to go over there and see if they've got like a copy of...
Oh, I have a copy of Arnie's original book. I'm a
Nice.
huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, so this builds up on a.
This is coming from somewhere deep within.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm role playing something that I never was.
He's
but
role-playing himself at
yeah,
15.
yeah. I could have gone a different route. I kept down the comic path, but the other path was a draw.
Right.
Choices made.
Yeah, exactly.
What if I had made the other choice?
This is a what if scenario.
This is your... I went right at the fork in the road this time. Fair enough. Okay. So clearly you're not on supplements.
But my mom is like, I would say, super into health food.
Sure.
So it's like, I can't get supplements in the modern sense of the world, but like she's very supportive of the idea that I'm becoming super interested in health and all of these things. And
Right.
she's given me like, kelp, like powders and things that I'm taking. My dad, I would say, is very unsupportive
Okay.
of this pursuit because he sees it as like I've stopped trying to better myself in any way in areas that he thinks important. He doesn't see why this is going to help me in life. Like for him, it's at this
Right.
period, so it's not like he spends too much time worrying about it, but he's very dismissive of it all. He thinks it's
Right,
all
because
pretty
it's
childish.
also not necessarily like you are training for like a sport, like
Exactly.
like a sports team sport where you can get further scholarship type stuff. If this is just
And
body
it's very,
sculpting, or is it
yeah, it's all body. My whole thing is like bodybuilding, and like I have this side where
so
like,
like
I want to go to.
performative bodybuilding,
Exa-
not like you can go be a lumberjack
No,
because
exactly.
your waist is going to be like
No, no.
this, and the minute you try and pick up an axe,
It's
your
all
body's gonna
looks.
go-
And he's sort of slowly watched as I'm increasingly like posing in front of any of the mirrors. I'm always having my shirt off like at strange times, like during the like he's just sort of the whole thing makes zero sense to him. And like you said, because I'm doing it all alone because there's no other community I found yet to do it with, and I'm sort of dismissive of anyone else as being fakers. And yeah, there's no like clear competitions and stuff that I've been part of yet. So it's like just a personal. He sees it as like insanely self-involved and weird.
Okay. So it's like normal parents from the 80s being concerned about kids and their comic and toy collections.
Exactly. Yeah, I shifted from one kind of nerd fandom to a different one that is even more confusing to him.
Okay. Cool.
But again, I would say my mom is softly supportive. She doesn't understand all the weightlifting part of it and this Arnie character.
Right.
But she loves that I'm like super into my food now, and I'm really careful. I won't eat junk food, and like I'm always like obsessed with what I'm putting in my body.
Is she going so far as to like help you do stuff like actually do like the mass building, like you'll eat like a whole roasted chicken a day?
Yeah, she's totally supportive of all this, and she's helping me understand some of the terminology of like nutrition that I don't understand, like what are carbohydrates, and I'm getting into all this terminology she's part of. But I eat a ton of food now. I mean, I was a kid, so I was always eating a lot. Now it's just this next level of like, I will eat any kind of protein. I want a lot of my chickens just boiled. Like I'm not even eating them roasted because it's too fatty, and I'm taking all the skin off and things like this.
You and my dog would get on super well. Okay, cool. So that's all good backstory stuff. So I guess we will start doing some relationship questions. Who do you think you would be aware of coming into town?
So maybe all the Prescotts and stuff, like, because maybe my dad's done a bunch of research since he was moving here. He's very thorough
Okay.
on how he does stuff, so he's been kind of telling me a lot about the history of he just does that. He's a guy who pontificates about the history of anything he's into, It's
Okay.
like, you go by a tree, he's telling you about the natural history of the tree. Like, he's this kind of dad.
Okay.
So I would say the characters you mentioned that are...
So probably Richard, because he would be a year younger than you.
Exactly.
Also, he has a reputation as a star athlete, so he's famous about town.
Yeah.
And so maybe even then my dad has been like, did a bunch of research on this, found out, has friends, because he's in this world.
Yeah.
And maybe he's even hoping that I will kind of click with Richard so that maybe I'll become more into sports and less into this weird
Right.
bodybuilding thing. And so he's been talking a lot about that character. I've heard a lot about the history of the town through that. And,
Okay.
Your guy doesn't do any ball sports at all?
No, I play no sports. I'm actually potentially terrible at sports. I'm just into bodybuilding. Yeah. Because again, I'm visualizing my character as this classic, like, I was a hard nerd.
Yeah.
But I was kind of became self-aware, hormones, all these things as a kid, and then like bodybuilding was the answer, and I always saw those things in the back of the comics, the Atlas, and the kicking in the sand, that silly thing we've all seen, and I've just swung this other way, so I'm obsessed now. I'm getting strong and all these things, but I'm not like super coordinated necessarily. I'm just strong.
Okay. So you probably would be aware of Richard's character.
Definitely.
You might know that there is a younger brother, but know nothing about him.
Yeah.
Trying to find some.
You maybe are
What about-
aware of
Your character is into comics, right? And there's a super comic
Zeke
person.
is.
Zeke is.
Yeah.
So I'd
Keith's
know.
character.
Let's say I would know about Zeke from my earlier days of fandom, and that he was sort of like within the. I don't know how serious his character was, so I'd have to find out. But if it was such a case that like we were writing into things, or I might have seen one of his
like
notes to the editor in the back of one of the comics
Right,
I was
right.
reading, and so like
You'd
It-
have to ask Keith.
this is a big asterisk beside it. So if
Yeah.
Keith's character is of this type of comic fandom, then I would know of him just from the community I was part of before.
But to know about him as a person, even from that, is probably he's
Yeah,
just still a
probably
rando.
not. You
right?
Yeah.
probably like in first day of class during like roll call or something hear his name during attendance,
Yeah,
and then you'd be like, oh, I wonder if that's
exactly.
the same Zeke from the back of.
Galaxy Defender Man 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so we will say you have only heard detailed stories about
James.
James, so Richard's character.
Yeah.
And your dad has probably not told you that he has left the sports world, but you do know that he is a Prescott who is your age, roughly, and what is also a sport head.
Yeah.
And then for Keith's character, you recognize the name from the back of a comic that you guys both probably read.
Yeah.
And so you are going to wonder if that's the same character or same person.
Mm-hmm.
But also because you come into town as already having decided that geek life is like in direct opposition to your current hobby of body sculpting, that you're probably going to have to figure out how to, like, you're not just going to ask them because you're no longer a dork.
Exactly. And I would be very defensive. Like, I loved this Captain Defender,
Galaxy Defender.
Defender. Like, I was huge into it. And again, there's that secret part, but I wouldn't admit this to anyone, including
Apparently only on issue 4, according to Keith.
Yeah.
So I don't
Or
know.
maybe Keith is
It's been a life-changing 4 issues, though. I mean, this has been...
It's possible that it's a reboot, or like it used to be the uncanny.
or
Galaxy
this
Defender.
is like the early example of Image Comics where it's a self-created book, but because it's a self-created book, like, it's always delayed.
Yeah.
comes out once a year.
Yeah. It's like the Ren and Stimpy of comic, like that whole period of just, exactly. There's always been delays, and that only increases our fandom of it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So did you bring dice?
I didn't.
Good thing I did. It's a good thing we're currently sitting in a room with loads of dice.
Yeah, I figured there'd be dice around.
Oh, there's board games.
So we will start. We're going to.
It's so big.
You're going to answer 4 questions about Richard.
Okay.
4.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're gonna use these to modify, and then
Can I get a quick rundown of Rich's character? So he is a post jock who's now like become ultra goth. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
Not ultra goth, but like heavy
I saw,
goth.
I saw those pictures.
He's not.
He's committed.
He says he's not super into the makeup, but more into the fashion.
Okay.
yeah. So James is a tall, wiry uh, yet athletic kid.
Yeah.
They played baseball together, so he's got,
Yeah.
you know,
He was the pitcher, star pitcher.
so you're looking at like he's currently 14. He's probably only quit.
Yeah.
This is probably like
That's
his
awesome,
second
yeah.
season
Yeah.
out of baseball, so he would have quit.
Yeah.
12 going into 13.
Yeah.
So he's got like 12-year-old baseball player body.
Yeah.
He has decided to go goth. And it's not necessarily goth, it's like rebelling against
The man.
and that's like you know, goth punk rock culture.
Yeah.
If it was 84.
Yeah.
So like all black, all the
Yeah.
you know, the bracelets
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the that sort of stuff. Hasn't gone down the road of makeup. Probably paints his fingernails black.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he's probably obsessed with like the appearance that comes from like Joy Division or New Order, or
Yeah.
The Cure, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't like giving out his last name.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to
Literally
be.
everyone in town knows what it is.
Yeah.
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 Because he wants to distance himself from like
Yeah.
the founder family.
Yeah.
He wants people to call him James. Definitely not Jim.
Okay.
Super Jimbo.
He decided to go in this like industrial goth direction as a way to break free from the expectations of being a Prescott. That sort of like becoming part of the culture of like goth punk rock is sort of what separated his friendship with Jen's character Millie, because Millie is very much a tomboy and really wants to be in like the baseball
Okay.
jock group.
Yeah.
He has a respect for Keith's character Zeke, because the comics that he reads, so like Galaxy Defender Man,
Yeah.
are like these weirdo sort of indie books.
Yeah.
He's got respect for Millie, who rejects like stereotypical female types.
Surprise! No. Wasn't expecting a shipment today.
And then what's Liam's character?
So Liam is David's brother.
Who's David?
Is David.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going through like all
I
the
understand.
notes.
I'll read all this stuff again too.
James likes being a loner so that he knows that he feels the stuff that he does is like him doing those things.
Yeah.
Um,
So that'll be a shared interest between us.
but then he also misses the fact that he no longer gets to hang out with the baseball team.
Yeah.
David. So Richard's kid brother. Looks up to like has like that older brother like looks up to the older brother kind of thing. Has fond memories of James taking him to see Indiana Jones. David stole a baseball card from James to give to Millie, because he accidentally ruined one of her favorite baseball cards. None of these baseball cards are probably valuable baseball cards, but they're probably it's probably like a foil cover variant of a card or something like that, but in the same way that like modern day Magic the Gathering foil cards might be worth like $3, right? So it's probably not a good card. It is just probably like a cool looking card.
Exactly. It's like we're past the period of rare baseball cards in the sense. We're in the mass going of it. We collect them for value even though they have no value.
And then also Liam's character looks up to Millie because they would have been friendly when James and Millie were playing baseball together. Those are those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So normally what you do is nice. We would roll. You would answer 2 questions about
James.
Each character that you know.
Jimmy Prescott.
Or one
My dad assures
one
me
positive question and then one negative question.
Yeah.
And then a negative question about everyone that you don't know.
Okay.
For a character you know, okay. That's right. But because you're gonna like not know everyone,
mostly,
we'll do some longer.
Yeah. No, it makes sense to me.
Questions. So you just roll a d20, and whichever ones are available.
10.
10 is.
What is the character sacrificing to protect you?
Ooh.
So this lets you add some story into.
No, I like this part of the system, but
Richard.
Okay, so he's kind of gothy. He's protecting me. So I guess I'm seeing. I'm going to be ridiculously obsessed about bodybuilding all the time.
Okay.
And this is going to alienate a lot of people because it's super boring and of no interest to anyone else.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing him as someone who used to do sports, that he kind of sees the value in it, even though he's moved on from it. So I would see him as sort of, he's giving up a tiny bit of this rebellion whenever this comes too far. That side, that jock side of him, that old jock side that he's shedding, he kind of, it flashes back just the tiniest bit when he'll kind of be protective of when people might be making fun of me or kind of criticizing this obsession I have.
Right.
And I see that coming from 2 aspects. The one, it's like this old world of his that, he's still kind of shedding. And secondly, he sort of sees the fact that I am picking a very alternative sport and that I'm doing it in this lonely manner. So he both sees this kind of union of these 2 sides of his own experience.
Right. Okay. So that's that. And then we'll... That was number 10.
6.
So do you want 5 or 7?
I'll do 7 without reading, just to make it random. What plan do you and this character have that most excites you?
So again, this is still about you and Richard.
Yeah, I understand. Both of us have this plan of like recreating ourselves. Without any of the mores or any of the pressures we feel from both the world and our families or whatever. And I think this shared vision, even though it's in very different directions, is something that we constantly talk about, like we're not constantly, but we feel that we might be that these are safe spaces for us to speak to each other about this intentional recreation of ourselves without feeling any of the pressure of who we are or where we've come from. And so kind of our plans, I guess, for ourself and for the new people we're becoming.
Okay. Sure. So it's that like Freaks and I don't know if you ever watched Freaks and Geeks,
Yeah, I did,
but
yeah.
that sort of like you both have different interests, but you both are like it's that like you are both very geeky about something.
Exactly.
And so can support each other in that geekiness, even though they're not the same.
Exactly. Even though they're going in very different directions, I think there's this shared respect for the idea that like there's a countercultural quality to both of the things we're doing. Like
Right.
I'm seeing at this time, like the bodybuilding and the whole like California scene that I'm obsessing about is a very sort of lonely, weird counterculture within sport, and then has a similar thing with his kind of interest in goth and that countercultural kind of intensity that both of us feel has been. That's part of what makes us feel of who we are is something we talk about and are interested in, even though we might both not necessarily respect what the other is doing.
Right.
In detail.
Okay. Cool. And then we do 2 from this list. And then if it's been taken.
Lucky number 13. What part of this character's personality scares you? I would say his whole look. Like I'm not that. I come from a pretty standard family, and so I think all the black that he's wearing and the moody kind of intense music. I think there is sort of maybe a semi-religious the rebellion he's doing, this punk rebellion, does scare me. It seems maybe satanic or like I'm reading into it.
Sure.
All these mores that I don't understand, but that something about it feels off. Like he's a villain from one of the comics or something I would have read before.
Okay. So these ones are more notes for your own character, whereas these ones affect.
Yeah. Lucky number 20. How did this character betray you the last time you confided in them? Ooh. So this would have been pretty early because we'll have just sort of met.
Yeah.
Maybe without knowing, he rejected the body. Like again, he has a respect for the fact that I'm doing something mildly that's athletic because there's this vestige with him in that, and that I'm doing it in this kind of very independent way. But he totally made fun of me and like shamed me about how stupid bodybuilding is and how it's not real sport. That it's just like kind of like personal masturbation kind of idea. Versus being good at a real sport or being a team leader. All these things that maybe are things that he cared about when he was a baseball player, and that I originally saw him as someone who totally understood what I was doing. And then when he kind of made an offhand joke about it, I felt it very intensely, and it hurt me, and I'm stewing about it.
Okay. That's that one. Now we go down this list. And I think it's 10 and then 13 down. How many are there? 1, 2.
D-turn?
How many? Hang on, I need to figure out how many characters are left. Because there's.
There's 4 other characters.
Okay. So we will do 2 of these questions per character, and then that basically chews up the whole.
So I will roll for the 2 I'm not doing. That'll be faster because there's 9. I'm going to be using 8 of them, so I'm only missing 1.
You're only missing 1.
Yeah. I'm not going to do 7 from...
Which is already crossed out.
No, but say I'll count from 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 18 I won't do, and I'll do the rest of them.
Okay. And then I guess we can
Roll a
go-
d4 for who?
Sure.
How are we numbering them? You have that system?
I'll just go top to bottom. Actually, you need to do a D because there's 5.
5.
No, there's 4.
No, you've already done
Yeah.
Richard's character. There's 4.
Number 3 is who my first, who 13 will be for.
1, 2, 3. So Zeke. So Keith's character.
Okay. What bad reputation does this character have around the town?
So I guess what we'll do is we'll start session 2. So you'll have been. It won't be your first day
Yeah.
in the school. It'll be like.
I've been around for because like a week's passed, so like I've been there a couple days. There's
Yeah.
been some events that I've.
Or
gone
it's
to.
like maybe you've been.
He might have been in town.
You've
for
been
a month.
in town for
Yeah.
like a month. But maybe you were still going
Yeah,
back,
going
and,
back and
forth,
forth.
or
That makes sense.
or whatever. So you'll have been in town for a month. Maybe you just didn't go to the night market thing.
Yeah.
But it's now. It'll be
definitely
like
didn't.
a week after that when we
Much
start.
less.
But
I was
yeah, so
exactly. I was still pumping out. And I was feeling like all the travel days, like I was really. I needed to catch up on my regime because I was feeling a bit flabby.
Pump faster.
Yeah. So you'll be,
Yeah.
in town for, say, 3 or 4 weeks.
So he's Zeke is the comic nerd.
He's big and schlubby as well,
Okay.
with comical curly hairstyle.
So bad reputation.
This is Zach talking about him. This is how Zach talks about Zeke.
Oh yeah. So I can. I will prattle off Zeke real quick. So he is on the larger side of being a kid.
Yeah.
So kind of chubby with he is basically the kid from Stranger Things, who's
Yep.
missing the front teeth.
Yeah.
But maybe like 2 years older than that. That's actually he's that kid.
Okay.
Uh,
So basically, what I've been hearing about him, just along the things, is like he has all these comic books. He knows so much, and it's not clear how he has them all. So it sounds like people are talking about that he's like a problem shoplifter, but he's never gotten caught. But that somehow this is how he's funding all this stuff, and so everyone's like, "You have to be careful hanging out with him," because
That's funny because so his flaws are he's very annoying, constantly nervous.
You're suspicious, completely unfoundedly suspicious of him.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But his character also is heavily involved in the art scene.
Yeah.
He is. One of his parents is Inuit, and
Okay.
the other one was
Honky.
as white as they get.
Yeah.
But he, I'm pretty sure we said that he didn't write it down.
His dad is Inuit.
But yeah, his dad was Inuit, and I'm pretty sure his mom was.
Doesn't explain why he has.
Was not?
Oh, his last name is Wolfchild. That's why he has
Okay.
an Inuit
Uh,
dad. His family name.
right.
So again, even some of this
but
could just be the
he's-
weird
he's,
racism that might, because this has nothing to do with who he is necessarily, right? It's
Or
just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the-
yeah.
you're mixing things up because in session 1, I legit did steal something.
yeah. So again, so I'm just misattributing it. You know,
Yeah.
there's the biases of the 80s.
Yeah.
4.
4 is Liam. So
David.
David Prescott.
So what does this character have a very public feud with? Who does this character have a very public feud with?
Great question.
The librarian.
Nice.
What's his character interest again? He was trying to take out some book and the librarian wouldn't let him. and he had a complete meltdown about it. And to this day, just talks endless amounts of crap about how this librarian is just terrible at his job, like, so on and so forth, and that this is ridiculous.
But he was just trying to take. He's like, I'm a Prescott. Just give it to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Temper tantrum level fight.
Yeah.
So the librarian is Raymond, based on Raymond Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
So
So
based
yeah.
on Everybody Loves Raymond.
And
Yeah, so he was very stoic as this kid was just like frothing at the mouth that he couldn't take out some kind of not age inappropriate book that he wanted to read.
right, and then Raymond, the head librarian, his husband Kevin, which is also based on Raymond Holt's husband Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, I'm seeing the crossovers.
Is one of the park/forest rangers. There's a few of those. There's a lot
Any
of
good role playing system is a pastiche of
Yeah.
pop culture stuff.
there's
we
a
all
lot
like.
of Twin Peaks
Oh yeah.
in here.
Number one.
Number one is, I believe that's Daryl's character, Zach.
Why are so many townspeople afraid of this character? Give me a
And-
little bit on your character,
right.
so
and
I can.
so Daryl's character is also Inuit.
Full
Okay.
of you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to open the racism doors too
No.
much, so we're not going to say that's
Yeah.
the reason.
Yeah. So we'll hop over down to Zach. And so I had a piece of software spit out like 100 just random names that were like machine learning based off of
The 80s.
So
based off of like Inuit
Okay.
So
names. So
were those legit Inuit names?
no,
Oh,
it's
the machine thought they sounded like Inuit names.
yeah.
It could literally be garbage. That means nothing.
Yeah, or it.
Write in the comments if
I-
my name means anything.
Yeah, I did run all the words through Google to make sure that the piece of computer did not
Yeah.
like
You
just
didn't get the
accidentally
Keyforge thing.
spit out like
Yeah.
like some super offensive.
Yeah, like white power
Language.
statements.
Yeah,
and
but yes, it's all.
But so what? Give me the Cole's notes on your character.
So my character's a laid-back slacker.
Yeah.
He doesn't like. Should probably be closer to the mic.
He doesn't like to do much for himself. He has friends as a means of getting stuff done / being entertained. Fairly heavily, very slightly off of Mouth from Goonies, which
Yeah.
hasn't come out yet.
Nope.
Will be inspired by my character.
Don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said,
It's
this
a true story.
yeah, based on.
Oh, you're Josh Brolin's character. Although if it's it's probably a mishmash of you and James, because he also has the younger brother.
That's what Hollywood does, man.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
they run
Oh, man, they
loose
ruin
with the
everything.
loose with the truth.
Yeah. So a little bit of Mouth, but mostly a kid I grew up with who was, as best I could figure, completely unscrupulous, and essentially, as he became a teenager, he was like just an anarchist.
Okay, so that's perfect. So rumors have been going around because of this. Like, he's so kind of friendly and laid back in some way. Everyone is convinced that he's like been reading like the anarchist handbook, and he's doing pipe bombs in his basement. And so everyone treats him really gently as like, because he's just so calm and friendly.
Oh my goodness! There are also rumors that I am an arsonist.
So
That's right.
Dovetailing.
But also, for whatever reason, I mow people's lawns
Yeah.
without pay.
Yeah, to siphon gas off for your pipe bombs.
Right, but also to scope places out.
Everyone sees you and you're all friendly, just doing it as a nice
man.
thing.
I'm not. Listen, I understand. I kind of walked into this by making him the criminal, but I don't know how super comfortable I am that the greatest minority representation is the criminal of the
I know,
group.
right? Well, those
And again,
will all
these
go
are
to
just rumors, right?
Yeah.
So,
These are just rumors, and also it feels like a very true character to me, regardless of what race he is.
Yeah.
It's just kind of an unfortunate coincidence for us.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
especially because it's a straight up through and through white dude playing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
For the record, I'm white, super white, very white, all the whitest white.
we will. I will lean heavily into the X card for that. Okay, so which ones have we?
We are at we're A16's the next one.
Okay.
3.
That was back to Liam's character.
Liam, what terrible loss did this character suffer?
I think 1, 2, 3. No, sorry, that was Keith's character Zeke.
His like original signed first edition of Galaxy Defender Man.
Whoa.
His mom, when he was like not taking care of things and didn't realize this, like ripped it up and threw it in the garbage.
Just ripped it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so
Because it's an old magazine.
yeah, it
Yeah.
still hurts him
She's
because
gonna
now he doesn't have a
shade or
signed
something.
copy. Like the copy he has is like a second printing and like zero geek cred from it. And he knew he had it in his hand, and the author had done a little like one of those like cartoons when they sign their names in the back of the character, like little line drawings.
Right. Maybe he
Wow.
went to a comic show.
Yeah,
in,
he went to a convention in Yellowknife.
Gosh, Keith is gonna be completely torn.
It's a terrible loss, my friend.
He is.
Terrible
So-
loss.
He's gonna cry.
His mom threw out his signed
And destroyed it, so it wasn't even recoverable.
first copy. I'm totally in the same way that I did all those AV Club zines.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a Galaxy Defender Man run of covers.
Good.
I do like that we have a custom comic book hero that we're all experts in.
Sorry, Keith. That's gonna. So back to that's one.
Yeah.
So back to Zach.
Me again.
What do you hope to learn about this character to manipulate them? What makes them angry? Because they're so calm all the time, or he is so calm. I kind of want to know what gets him actually fired up, so that I can use it to make him make decisions that his calm self wouldn't.
All right.
Rage, unfettered rage, what breaks his
So-
calm exterior.
Wait a minute. That's what you're asking me?
No, that's what I want to hope to learn about.
Oh,
is
you want to learn what
manipulate
makes
you,
me angry?
so I can manipulate you.
Okay, so I'm writing down the things for notes that you. What was the first one? You think?
You're possibly in.
No,
an
the town
anarchist.
is terrified of you, thinking that you're an anarchist who makes pipe bombs.
Oh, so maybe the town chores that people want is just to like try and
Yeah.
be friendly
Yeah,
and
busy hands,
and,
busy-
and not. You're not doing the chores as a means of
My parents want me to come off as not a criminal.
yeah.
Okay, so your character we have finished. So if we get you again.
One was
Yeah.
right.
4.
4 is Liam. So David Prescott.
What scandal in the town was the character involved in?
Good God. So the first one that you had was his
No, I
temper
understand.
tantrum fight with the librarian.
Yeah, and so he egged and toilet papered the friendly gay couple librarian's house after, and it caused a big stink because
Okay.
they actually did some damage to the windows with their egg throwing.
Egged and
Who
TP.
in town would he have gotten to help him with that?
It's unclear. and he won't tell anyone.
But after he threw the eggs, he was like, "I'm David Prescott, bitch."
Next time you let me read Catcher the Rye.
No, it's Richard Scarry's A Very Good Rainy Day book.
Yeah, it wasn't age appropriate because it was too young. The librarian refused to let it take
It was already signed in.
Yeah.
The thing is, he was already signed in by David. He just has lost it, and they haven't got another copy of it. He's like, "Why do you have a copy of my book?"
And then I should have one more left for who?
The last one is. Actually, you've got 2 more left. You have 2 questions for Millie.
What is this character doing to threaten their family's reputation?
Her family.
Millie's family, something significant?
She's got a single dad.
Yeah, she's single dad.
And she's the tomboy.
She helps.
Run the fish and tackle shop.
No. Her dad, because you stole from them.
No, I stole from the.
Oh, you stole from the
crafty
booth
people.
next door. That's right. Her dad runs a.
The tackle shop. She didn't know anything about fly fishing.
Oh right, yeah. Runs a fish and tackle shop.
She said some things when she's running this incorrectly that makes it seem like his custom high-end self-tied flies that people pay a premium for, he actually buys from Yellowknife.
Look, buys them, paints them gold, puts them back on the market.
Okay. Her dad.
What was the wording of the second question about me? Was something you want to learn that will...
Yeah, I'll get it too. What do you hope to learn about this character to manipulate them?
To manipulate me, an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah. Hey, man. If one thing Arnie told me is it's the importance of what winners do.
They manipulate 11-year-old boys.
So say it wouldn't be that hard for me to give you bad advices.
Okay, and then
The final one for Millie would be, why don't you want to associate with this character? So,
which is weird because she's probably now like one of the top dogs on the baseball team.
Yeah, but he doesn't like sports.
Oh right.
well, and worse, this is where I'm going to bring a little bit of my flaws. Like, with my new thing, even though it's not really part of my character, but I'm play acting, like, she's not kind of this, like, vision I have of, like, a California bimbo. So being, like, a tomboy and stuff, I kind of, like, feel like, oh, she's not, like a real girl.
Oh, your character is awful.
Yeah. So it's just, like, this is me kind of play acting a kind of prejudice that I don't inherently feel, but I'm just going to be like, she's not.
Right.
She'll be fine with that. She's... What was her fear? Her fear was puberty. She doesn't want to be a girl. She wants to be one of the guys.
Yeah. That way we can have some sexism and racism. Just.
Oh boy, no thanks.
Right. So she's not a Cali girl.
Or again, what this person from northern BC and now this thinks a Cali girl is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't know anything.
Right. Cool.
1984. What would you think? Because Pam Anderson is not even. On the scene.
Raquel Welch. Oh
Yeah.
my
But
god.
as a
That's-
California girl.
Well, it doesn't. Again, I'm not that dude. I'm 15.
Yeah, no, I know.
But yeah, I got.
immediately-
It's just only pictures of her and Arnold Schwarzenegger on my
Yeah,
walls.
you probably saw like 1 million years BC,
Yeah, it changed me. It was an awakening.
Attack of the 50-foot woman.
Yeah. What was that western she was in? It was like terrible.
Yeah. Not that Raquel Welch was in Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, but
Yeah, but
That-
as far as I know, I'd say she was.
Your view of
Yeah.
what a California girl is
Yeah,
probably
it's not very.
inspired. It's probably inspired by like
Yeah.
B sci-fi movies that you would have watched on like Saturday mornings.
Yeah,
Because those
Bandolero. It was
Bolero.
yeah, baby, 1968 classic. Well, she was in Hanny Calder as well. That was a classic. Anyway, the point is, not a nuanced view from Mr. 15-year-old.
So outside of so we are now like
Mhm.
basically done for the day, but I'm gonna
Yep.
run you through some additional rules that
Yep.
um
And I'll fill all this out, of course, and get into the Trello and whatnot.
sure. So because we're a huge group,
Mhm.
because we're
Well, these are the custom rules that you had on the thing.
and
Yeah.
because we're all adults minus one,
Yeah.
it's going to be very difficult to actually stick to a schedule.
Yeah.
So if you know you can't make it to
Yeah.
a game, we are going to use
Yeah. What's known to
like that, like ideally in whether that's like in our Slack channel or even on Messenger if we just want to keep
Yeah.
chatting out there, like sort of offline role play as to be like, oh yeah, so I can't make it to this session, but you know maybe the character's been grounded or
Yeah.
went on family vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the start of the next session we will like do like a Dear Diary recap.
Cool.
So that's sort of like the other player's responsibility will be to fill you in character.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, oh, you should have like last week when you were gone, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're just like whatever last minute and you can't make it out,
Mhm.
we'll just make something up on the fly as to why your character's not there.
Yeah.
Something I really liked that Hyper RPG did in their playthrough of Kids on Bikes
Mm-hmm.
was to recap the previous session in like a sort of
Dear
journaling
diary.
experience.
Yep. No, that makes sense to me.
And that's done as like an in-character
Yep.
thing. I think one, it'll be super useful to sort of help point out like the interesting bits that you sort of cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And then as like the sort of ref that makes it a bit easier for me to do some ship steering.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that we're gonna do. In the deluxe version, so in like this version of the book
Mhm.
or rule set, there's like a whole bunch of custom.
Is that in the full cost PDF?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
they have. There's now a new book that they've published called Strange Adventures,
Okay.
which publishes all those modules.
That stuff. Okay.
If you have the deluxe edition version of the PDF, then you'd have those
Cool.
modules in the back. There's a rule there that they use across a few of the modules called cold exposure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just basically a set of rules for how like hypothermia will affect the character throughout the game, starting with like it'll affect sort of cognitive.
Yeah.
So you'll sort of slowly become unable to like do thinking tasks, and then eventually that leads into like you not having fine motor skills or stuff like that.
I like the little meta information that you're hearing. We're all going to freeze to death. It's
Yeah,
going to be some
right.
just that's going to be like the final
Right.
thing. This OK Corral moment up in the north, the frozen
It's
north.
going to end
just-
like The Shining ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We are also going to be doing a thing called team brewing, which this is a storytelling game, and so we are all doing contributing to that story.
Mhm.
So part of that is because I'm lazy, I am going to offload whole chunks of things. If this were like a fantasy game and you were playing a dwarf, I would say to you that you are now responsible for the entire culture and history of dwarves.
You know I'm comfortable with that. With my Cthulhu monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is going to be Cthulhu.
Yeah. No.
So where did Arnold come from? Cthulhu.
Yeah. A little known fact.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to go away and
No, I understand.
prep all that. That is totally just like...
Yeah, just you'll on the fly. People will be adding little bits of detail and things.
then
to it.
we can record that down after the fact. But yeah, so you will be responsible for like all there is to know about like bodybuilding or whatever it happens to be.
Don't you worry.
The rest of the group gets like soft veto.
Yeah.
If it gets like too absurd.
Well, it'll be funny with Keith, who actually knows some stuff about it. So I'll be constantly just surprising him with my.
If it makes the characters like overpowered or something, then I would sort of have a soft veto power. If everyone at the table, like this is my guffaw rule, right? If everyone at the table is like, when someone says something, then that is also like a bit of a soft veto skill.
No, that stuff I'll make. I mean, I'm a booster of that, whether there's a rule or not. So.
And then the last thing is that for as a safety tool, we're going to use the X card rule set, which is just
exactly.
You've got a cue card with an X on it.
Yep.
And if someone is uncomfortable with something, they just raise or touch it, and there's no.
Yep, makes sense to me.
No
Do not pursue. Don't pursue
required.
that path. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And that could be. That's for anything.
Yeah. No, I've read those like the rules on those things, and I think they make tons of sense.
Yeah. And I think like we're. At the very least, we're like 7 people that all know each other.
Yeah.
So I think that.
But even still, you don't know what some things that are
like,
triggers different. You know what I mean? Like everyone's had different experiences.
Well, and the thing that I like with like the examples that X card provides is like, a player was trying to quit smoking, and was not super happy when another player was like.
Waxing poetic about it.
Waxing poetic about their character smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so stuff like that.
No, I think there's lots of normal reasons why that's useful, as opposed to just like don't be a D bag. It could also be just like there's certain things that you don't know everyone's experience. So. And
also, we've got like a 10-year-old in the group who.
That's why it's just gonna be ultra violence for me every time. Just gory ultra violence.
And then I split his head open.
I drank his brains, and then I.
So, yeah.
No, that's sweet, man. I'm stoked. Lucas, the bodybuilding.
Did you settle on strengths and weaknesses, strengths and flaws?
I'll set that up and I'll put it in the thing. Just given what we've done, because I like to spend a little bit of time, because I like to pick those. I usually pick those not from a power point of view, but for a
storytelling point of view.
Because again, we've talked my love of Cthulhu-y kind of things. I do enjoy, you roll the danger dice anytime you can, so I always have to be careful with my flaws. I will be hitting that button. I go in that room. You shouldn't. I'm going to go in that room. You will die. Hey, that's fine.
I'll die at some point.
Exactly.
I like that.